and welcome to That's So You. Hello. This is episode 13. I am Diane and this is Little Miss. Say hello.
Hello.
It is the 4th of October. It's just gone 12:30 and I'm going to attempt to do an episode today if she will let me without pressing pause or stop every single time. Are you going to stand nicely or are you going to keep pressing the button?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, now she's over there now on the tablet, keeping herself busy. So as I was trying to say before, this is episode 13 of the That's So You podcast. My name is Diane. She is Little Miss. It is the 4th of October. Yes, if you are a new viewer, thank you for joining us today. And if you are a returning viewer, thank you for coming back. It's been, I think about 3 weeks since I did the last episode. I do try to keep it every 2 weeks, but you know, life happens. So what do I have for you today? Before I go on, just so I don't have to keep repeating it every single episode, I'll just put details of where you can find me on the screen here or here. So today I will have a non-knitting related finished object, a few whips, a couple of goodies or 2 or 3 goodies, and a little bit of what on Valerie. I haven't decided if I will go ahead with that, but we'll see. And maybe some what's up with you. We'll see, depending on how much time there is. Okay. Let me just lower that. Now I can begin. So, as I mentioned, there is a non-knitting related done and dusted or finished objects, and they are stitch markers. Etsy is currently giving its sellers I think 50 free listings in the run up to Christmas, so I thought I would make use of that and put together some stitch markers. As for those of you who, sorry, I'm just looking for something. For those of you who don't know, I sell stitch markers as well as knitting and crochet patterns on Etsy. It's been a little while since I added some things there, so I thought as they were offering free listings, I might as well make use of that. So last week actually, I made a few stitch markers. And I've also ordered some tools, some jewelry making based tools, and in order to make some more stitch markers. So these items could possibly be going in a shop update this weekend if the things I've ordered come today or tomorrow, which I'm hoping they do. If not, then it will be sometime next week that they will go into the shop. The 53 listings is available until the 18th of October, so I do have enough time to make stuff before then, but I want to have enough time to make as many things as possible, to use up as many as the free listings as possible. And excuse me while I just pick that up. Okay, so I just made a few stitch markers. Some will be sold as sets and others will be sold individually. The first lot are these, which let me just get where the camera is. I always forget what this is. I think Amazonite and calcite, I believe, but don't quote me on that. So this will be a set with one progress keeper and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these stitch markers. Let me see, that will focus better. I don't think it will, but yeah. I was trying to look for a stick or something. Okay, no, that's not going to help. I'm sure I've got something. Yeah, I've actually got a needle here. So, sorry about this. Let me just try and feed some of these on just so it looks a bit nicer. There we go. So these are the stitch markers. I know I said 5. There's one here. For some reason, it's missing the actual jump ring, but I will add that on. So that's the stitch markers and the progress keeper that will come along with. So that's one set I've made. Another, I haven't added the jump rings to these yet. Is this. I don't know if you can see that. I always forget how to pronounce this. I'll put it on the screen. It's either hematite or hemalite, something like that. It's been a long... These are all things that are from my jewelry making days. So a lot of these I haven't used in a long time. I'm just going through all my jewelry making stash to use. I'm using them up to make stitch markers. So yeah, I'll put the name of that on the screen somewhere. So this will be done in a set, and there'll be 10 of these, and there will just be 10 stitch markers. And then there are these ones. I'm not sure whether I will do these as a set or individually, because there's only 3. I'm not sure if I have more of these findings here, but I'll see. And this stone, again, I have to double check what that is, because again, it's been a very long time since I actually made use of them. But yeah, I'm not sure if that will be done as a set or individually. And then there are these spoons. These most likely will be a set, though I do have some available individually on the site. I won't put all of them on. So I've made, I think it was 8, 2, that's 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, I made 8 of these. So I might put these as a set, but as I said, you can get these available individually. They're spoons with small Swarovski bicone crystals on them. And finally, there's this one. Now, this one I might keep for myself, though as part of what I've ordered, I have similar hearts to this. So if I don't put this on, I'll have something similar to this available in the shop update. But this I might end up keeping for myself. Okay, so they are the only finished. Oh, there's this as well, but this I either might keep for myself or I'll just take apart, because I only made it just to see how it would turn out. It's Swarovski bicone crystals made into a ball with another bicone at the top and a crown charm at the bottom. So I just wanted to see how it would look. I'm not really too pleased with it in a selling sense. So as I said, I might keep it myself, or just not take the whole thing apart, but just take the crown and the lobster claw off, and maybe find something else to use the ball with. Or might even take the whole thing apart and use the crystals for something else. So yeah, that shop update should be done at least by next week, sometime next week. But if you follow me on Instagram, and if you're not, why not? If you follow me on Instagram, I will put up information of when that actually happens. Right, now on to actual knitting stuff. So yeah, I haven't been able to do any other finished objects simply because I haven't done much knitting at all. Mr. Yu has been working nights for the past 3 weeks, and it just made it difficult to be able to spend evenings doing knitting or crochet or anything like that. But he's back on the day shift now, so hopefully I should be able to find time to do some stuff. So my first whip is Flax Light. I haven't done work on this in a very long time, simply because of the stage that I'm on. I can't even remember where I was up to when I showed this to you last, but this is what I've got so far. I finished the body, so now all I need to do is work on the sleeves, and that's why it's taken me a while to get into doing it, because I don't have circular needles that are smaller lengthwise. It means I'll either have to work this as a magic loop or using DPNs. Using magic loop, I don't tend to really like working sleeves on magic loop, because sometimes you get that laddering where the at the point where the cable is sticking out. But then using DPNs, I hate using DPNs. But I've just decided I need to get this done because I started this in August, and that is way too long for a project of this size. Something like this, I should have been able to finish within a month. So yeah, I am just going to use DPNs on these and get them finished as soon as possible, so I can get started on another project. This one is going to be for the triple arters. I'm just making one so all three of them can just share one jumper, and then once this is done I will then make something for Little Miss. Yeah, the yarn I'm using for this is Artisanal Alpaca definition. Yeah, in the, no, not Artisanal, it's just Artisanal definition sock, that's what it's called, in the crocodile colorway. And it's a really nice yarn to work with. It looks like it's going to be nice and warm and cozy for them. For those of you who don't know the Flax Light sweater, it's a very, very basic sweater. It's made in children's, babies and adult size, and it's a simple stocking stitch, but then there's also this garter panel along both sleeves. So that's all I've got to do now, really. I'm working this on 4mm needles, so yeah, nice and straightforward. Shouldn't take me long, hopefully, to get this done. And just so here, these are my stitch markers from the Third Vault Yarns quarterly. It was the first quarterly yarn club, which would have been not last January. I got this, and this one was all themed on the Firefly TV series. So that's the Serenity ship, that's a spanner, and 2 dinosaurs. Hey, so that's all I can really say for that project. Oh, this is by Tin Can Knits, if I didn't mention that, but I probably would have put the information on the screen. So my next whip, just checking my notes to make sure, is Caramel. Again, haven't done much work on this at all, just because I think I mentioned in the last episode that I was beginning to run out of yarn for the main color, which is this, even though meterage wise I have enough. So I wasn't really doing a whole lot of work, though I found something that could possibly be used to work it with. But as I'm entering this in the, I think it's the I Love My Sweater Cowl, hosted by Moira, who is the host of, I think it's Knitting in Stitches podcast, I think, I can't remember. And that cowl finishes the end of this month. So I think it's this month or next month. So yeah, I really need to get something done on this. This is all I've done so far on this, just at the bottom, just done the sleeve separation section. So yeah, I need to get something done on this. So I'll just work on it until I get towards the end of this ball, and then I will order something to take its place, and then work that in gradually, just in case there's issues with what's the word, tone and things like that, because this yarn is Araucania, I think I said it right, merino lace DK, and this is discontinued. I've checked on Ravelry for any. I actually got this on D-Stash from Ravelry, and I've checked again, and no one has this available in black. It's all different colors. So I've found another yarn that looks quite similar that I'll just work with instead. The contrasting colors I'm using for this are they're both 3rd volt yarns. This one is 10, and that's in relation to Doctor Who, and that is the bottom part of the contrasting colors. I'm working 8 rows altogether, 4 in each contrasting color, so that will just be about here somewhere. And then the second one is also 3rd volt yarns. They're both Echo DK. Is this, which is Defense Against the Dark Hearts, and that's a Harry Potter reference. And that one would be the pinky black one from sort of there. So I feel the two of them work extremely well together. You can see there's a difference, but it's not so much that it clashes. They blend together really nicely. So again, this is one I really need to get some work done. I did plan to do something last night, but wasn't able to. So this will be one of the main projects I try to get something done on today. So hopefully, I can finish it on time and enter it into the cowl. I'm also going to transfer the stitches onto this needle. This is my Adiclix, and you can see the cable's a lot longer, so it will just make it easier to work with than what I've got here. These are Addy as well, I think. I can't remember. I think this is Addy as well. Yeah, so I'll just transfer them onto the longer cable. And the needles I'm using for this are 4.5 needles, and I am working, I think it's the small I'm working, or the medium, I can't remember. I think it's possibly the small. And for the flax light, that's being worked in the 8 to 10 size, I believe. I think it was 8 to 10 because my boys are now 7, so it was either 6 to 8 or 8 to 10, and I think I went for the 8 to 10 just so they can grow into it. There's no point in making something and then in a year's time they end up growing out of it, especially with Mr. Man. He just seems to be growing and growing and growing, so it helps to make things a larger size. Okay, so next it is, I think the next ones are newer whips, which you may not have seen. One I could have probably have finished already, and it's a design project. I'll wait to show you that in a moment. I'll start first with this one, which is a test knit I am doing for Lola, who happens to be the dyer behind 3rd Volt Yarns, the yarns I'm using for this. Yeah, she is running a test for a shawl that she is designing. I started really well on this, got quite a bit of work done, but then stopped because she had to make changes to the pattern. So that means I have to then rip back a little, not too much. So I thought I'll leave it aside. And also because I needed to get needles, because the needles I'm using, I only had them on single pointed needles. I didn't have them on circulars. So I thought I might as well wait until I get the circulars. So I've got those now. So again, this is another thing I'm going to start working on again. Most likely I'll pick these up again towards the weekend. And the pattern is called Electric Skies. This is what I've got so far. Is that the right way? Yeah, that's the right way. So this is what I have so far. And what I need to do is rip back to here before I start working in the contrasting colour. So that's not too bad because this is a short row, so it doesn't take me long just to do this bit there. The yarn I'm using for this, the main colour I purchased from Etsy, and I'll tell you more about that in the goodies section. But because the meterage wasn't going to be just enough for the shawl, I added to it some leftover yarn from previous projects, and that is the Yarn Yard Toddy. This is the yarn I use to make the Brothers Not Twins socks. So yeah, that's kind of the main bit here. And where you have the lighter oranges, that's the actual yarn I've chosen to make the shawl in. So I've just decided to start with the remainder of the toddy yarn and then work the main color one in stripes at random points, just so it looks like it's a slightly variegated or tonal semi-solid type shade. And so then as I go on, it will then mainly just be the actual main yarn. And in case that's still not enough, I also have this, which is a, hold on, I have this, which is a mini, and this will be added towards the end in the same way. It's a bit washed out here, so this will be added towards the end if I need it, and it'll be worked, as I said, it'll be worked in the same way, just so that it looks like it's part of the actual, it looks like it's supposed to be that way, and it's not just a sudden change in color. So that's what I'm using for the main colors. This is the actual main color. So as I said, you can just see there how there's just slight variations in the orange. It's a bit washed out. There's slight variations, but nothing too drastic. Yeah, so that's the main color. For the contrasting colors, as you can see, I'm using this and these other minis. The contrasting colors are made using yarn from, do I have the label here? Yes, I do. Frankenstein Yarn Company. I bought this a very long time ago, and I was initially going to use this yarn to make the texture tied sweater. And if you have been a regular viewer, you would know that that's a sweater I frogged not long ago. And so I'm now using some of those yarns in this project as the contrasting color. This one is Lamington Lass Brer soft sock in the Brer Fox colorway, but again, I'll come back to that in a moment. So yeah, the colors I'm going to use as contrasting for this project are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, these. So I've got the green already, and then I'll be doing it as a sort of gradient-ish. I'll then go to the darker green, I'll then have the yellow in the middle, and then do this purple, and then have this color. So, excuse me, they will kind of look like this with the orange as well as the main color, if you can see that properly. Yeah, so that's how I'm going to work it. So far it's going extremely well. The pattern is easy to follow, well written. I haven't had any issues with understanding or following it. Well, there was one slight thing, but that was more the way I was reading the pattern. Someone kind of explained it to me, then I realized it was my mistake. So yeah, but everything in the pattern is going extremely well. The needles are 3.75s. I did initially go up to 4mm just because my gauge is usually tight, but then the stitches just look too loose, so I went back down to the original 3.75 and I've worked it in that. But I haven't actually done a gauge swatch for this. I don't usually do it for shawls unless I want to absolutely make sure it's long, but the stitches look okay in comparison to the pictures I've seen, so everything should be fine. And hopefully in blocking I should be able to stretch it out a bit as well. Now my last whip is, as I said, a design project. I don't normally show design projects, but this is a design project that I started a very, very, very long time ago. And then what's the word? And I can't remember if I even frogged it. It might be hibernating somewhere. But I've decided to bring it back again. I've used a different yarn, though similar to the one I had before, but a larger hook size. It's a crochet project. A larger hook size. And, oh, hold on. Just realised this stitch, where are you? It's actually loose. Let me use this to hook it on. I don't want to lose it. Right. So yeah. So I've used a larger hook, and the only other difference I've used are the colours are different, and this time I'm using more colours. With the original one, if I can get pictures, I'll put it in. Oh, yeah, it'll come up somewhere. The original one just used 3 colours, where this time I'm using 5. So I won't show you the whole thing, I'll just show you part of it. So this is where it's just starting, and then it goes like this, and that's where I'm up to so far. And next I will work in this colour, will be next. It's sort of a plummy dusty pink colour, so that will be next. Yeah, the yarn I'm using for this is Millamia Naturally Soft Merino. The colorways are, I'll just go through them quickly. The grayish one is, if I can remember, haze grey. Then this blue is rain. I think that's right. That's rain. And then I'm trying to do this from memory, but I don't think that's going to work. So the blue is rain, I'm sure of it. Yeah. So this blue is, so we've got haze grey, rain, mist. Then there is, what is that one? Lilac blossom, I'm sure that is. And finally plum. Yeah. So this is coming out a lot lighter than it is. It's yeah. That's a little bit closer, but it's still darker than this, so yeah. So this should not take me long at all to finish. I really could have finished this already. It's, yeah, doesn't take me long to do all of this. I've been working on this for less than a week. I really could have done this in a couple of days, 2 or 3 days. I could have been finished with this. So once it's done, I will get it tested, and then it will be available to download. So I'll be very happy once this is done. The original one I did, it wasn't as wide and it was a lot denser because I was using I think it was a 5 or 6 millimeter hook. And the yarn was different. As I said, there was a different brand of yarn. I think it was Sublime Luxury Soft Merino or something like that. And yeah, the fewer colors, so it just didn't have the feel I wanted, didn't have the drape that I wanted. But this so far, I'm loving the drape that I'm getting from it. Yeah, so once I've finished, I will then cut all these loops and weave them in. I've left it like this for now, just in case I end up having to rip everything back. That was the other mistake I made with the original one. I cut the yarn and then realized it was too dense pretty much when I'd almost finished it. And because I'd cut all this yarn, I would have been left with scrap strands of yarn, and I didn't want to have to then still work with that. So I decided I would get another new yarn and start the whole thing again, which is what I've done now. So look out for that. I don't really have a name for it yet. I've just been referring to it as the infinity cowl or infinity scarf. So that should be coming out soon. There's a chance I might not even test for it, but we'll see, because the pattern is basic. Yeah, I'll just see how it goes on that. And they are all of my projects. I'm usually quiet even with the tablet. You alright? You okay? Alright, that's fine. So, whips are done, finished objects done. It's time for goodies. It is. Yes, it's goodies time, yeah. Okay, goodies. Now, I've got 3, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sort of goodies to show you. One you've sort of seen already. It was the Lamington Lass soft sock in the Brer Fox colorway. So that's the one I've got for, yeah, that's the right color. So I think this is an absolutely lovely orange. I'm finding that before I really got into knitting, orange wasn't a color I really looked at a lot. But since getting into knitting, especially to the level I am now, it is a color that I would love to have in things, especially things like socks. I've only got one pair of socks in orange, and that's the Brothers Not Twins socks. So yeah, I want more because it's so lovely. Look at that. And this yarn is absolutely soft and luscious and squishy. It's, as I said, Lamington Lass yarns, and it's soft socks, which is 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon. Yeah, 425 meters per 100 gram, and that's the colorway name, Rare Fox. And this is absolutely lovely. This is the third, I think, yarn I've bought now from Lamington Lass, and yeah, they are, I would say, one of my favorites, as well as third volt yarns. So lovely. Speaking of third volt yarns, I do have another skein from them. I think if you've watched me long enough, you would know that pretty much every single episode there usually is something of third volt yarns in there, either in a pattern or as a goodie or something. So this is third volt yarns librarian sock, which is BFL and nylon, again 425 meters per 100 gram, and this colorway is called Death. Let me try and get that. There we go. Look at that. Isn't that lovely? This is part of a new yarn collection that she's brought out relating to the Endless, which are characters from the Sandman comic books. Now, I've looked up a little bit of this online because I know nothing about this comic book. The Endless are a group of 7 siblings and they think they all rule a different element of the world or something like that. So we've got death. There's also destruction, despair, death, destruction, despair, desire, and delirium. And death, destruction, desire, despair, delirium, dream, destiny. Is that 7? Yeah, that's 7. Yeah, that's all of them. So she brought them a whole collection out of 7 skeins, one for each of the siblings. So I saw death online and I've just wanted it. Death and destiny were the 2 that I really wanted. So yeah, this is death. Destiny. Oh, sorry, there's police officers on the street. I don't know which house they're going to. Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, so these 2 were... Okay, hope it's nothing serious. Yeah, getting distracted there by happenings on the streets. Okay, yeah, so these, as I said, this is death. Destiny was the other one I kind of considered having. That was more of a brown toned yarn. And just looking back at the collection, Desire is another one I think I might get. Desire and Despair. Desire is red tones and Despair has more lighter grey, pale grey tones to it. So do check that out, especially if you are someone who's into comics and fantasy fiction and all those kind of stuff. A lot of, I'll say pretty much all Lola's yarn, third part yarns are related to the sci-fi world in some way. So I don't know what I'll do with these. Maybe socks, maybe a shawl, I don't know, but this is absolutely wonderful. So next on the list of goodies, I have some non-yarn related goodies. These are the needles that I'm going to use for the Electric Skies shawl. They are prim, just basically cheap and cheerful needles. 3.75 millimeters, and the length is 80 centimeters in length. So that's that. And finally, I haven't done this before, I don't know why, but today I picked up a copy of Simply Knitting. I'm subscribed to this normally. I am considering cancelling my subscription and then just doing the digital downloads whenever I feel like picking it up, because I found lately a lot of the designs I'm not so into, and I find there's a few that seem to be repeating a little bit. I'll just show you. I think the best way to show it is just to show you. So these are the designs that are on this issue. Looking at these, the only ones that I would say I could possibly consider making would be this children's top, which is designed by Martin Story. This one looks nice, but I don't know whether I would do a full lace sweater, especially as most of the patterns in these magazines tend to be made in pieces, and I don't really like to work sweaters that are done, or garments that are made in several different pieces. But I do like this. And then on the back, the only other thing I could possibly make would be this one, but as we don't celebrate Halloween, I wouldn't have this on it. It would just be the rest of the colour work, but without this motif on it. So yeah, so out of the whole thing, 3 possible things that I would make. And I have found that sometimes in issues there might just be 1 or 2 patterns that I would feel like making. As well as these, where is it? Oh, she's put it somewhere. They came with this which is chunky knits for autumn. And out of these three, again, I don't really knit a lot of things for the home. I tend to prefer to make I prefer knitting garments. And yeah, so the cowl is okay, but again, it's not something that I would just put together my own simple cowl to make. And the bag, again, I wouldn't really make a knitted bag. I've tried and not, but I've made one knitted bag for somebody else, and after making it, I just didn't feel it was appreciated so much. And this one, I did try another bag, and that didn't get finished, and I think that project I've now frogged, or it's hibernating somewhere. So yeah, it's something that I probably will just cancel my subscription and then just do a digital download. For one, it will be cheaper because then I'm only going for the actual editions of the magazine that I want. And two, even for the magazine itself, this costs £6. The digital one would be £5, I think. Yeah, it'll be £5. It won't take up so much space in the house. And yeah, I'll only be picking it up when I actually want to get a copy. And they also added 10mm needles. They do, with the physical copy, you do get a gift, which is usually needles or some other notion. And I think a lot of them now are starting to get to the point where I'm doubling up on things that I've already got. And again, 10mm needles aren't really something that I use a lot. And oh, see, I'm so blind. They're right in front of me here. Yeah, this isn't a size of needle I really use. So I do have a small cupboard full of the needles they usually add, which I'm hoping to either give away or sell or something. So yeah, and the other notions as well, it's sometimes the same thing that I've got already. So that's what I think I'll do. I'll go for the digital option, but if I see that maybe there's something free within the physical copy that I want to get, then I'll go with that. So at least I give myself the option, and I save a bit of money by only buying it in an issue when I actually need it or want it. So goodies wise, that's all I have. So next it is what's waiting in the wings. I don't really have any definite plans for projects. There are general shawl projects and things I want to make, but nothing that absolutely finalized. And there's a possibility of doing a collaboration with someone, but I won't go into that until it's been finalized and I get the okay to be able to talk about that, because I don't know whether or not it will be happening for sure. So I don't want to say anything else in case maybe they go a different direction. Okay, so what's on Valerie? Now for what's on Valerie, I was going to do this, and then before I started recording, I changed what I was wearing and put this on, and then remembered I was going to do this for what's on Valerie. So it's what's on Valerie, but I'm wearing it, not Valerie. So this is the Blue Sands cardigan by, let me see if I can remember this, La Maison Riley, I think is how you pronounce it. I'm sorry if I've pronounced it wrong. This is a cardigan which I made towards the beginning of the year. I do like the cardigan, the pattern itself. The only issue I've had is the yarn. I made this out of cotton yarn, and I found that there is a whole load of stretch. Partly that's my fault, because when I made it, I did do a gauge swatch, but not a proper one, and I only checked the stitch gauge, not the row gauge. So it did come out longer, and the sleeves as well. We check the sleeves. They come here like this, and see, everything kind of droops a lot because it's cotton. It has stretched out. I did find online somewhere where it's gave instructions for shrinking cotton, and I did that, and it did shrink a bit but not a lot, and now it's kind of bloomed back up again. And on top of that, the color seems to be fading every time I wash it. I mean, this looks nice on the screen, but in person it looks a bit dusty. So yeah, it makes me sometimes not want to wash it, but then of course I have to. At the moment I'm using this as kind of my coat because I need to get a new coat, and it's still warm enough to wear it outside as a jacket, so that's good. But yeah, I am disappointed in that respect, that the color on the yarn does seem to be fading. And what yarn? Oh, it's not in here. Can't remember what yarn I used for this. It was, I think it's Debbie Bliss Eco Baby. Yeah, it's Debbie Bliss Eco Baby. And at the time when I got this, I got the black yarn as a D-stash, and I didn't really take notice that it was cotton. I just saw a 10 skeins of Debbie Bliss yarn for whatever price it was, and I thought that's a bargain. And when it came, I realized it was cotton. I thought, okay, it's not so bad. Saw that I had enough to make this project, and then got these other two colors to add into it. So yeah, I think one, the fact that it's cotton, and then that's my main regret, and that I didn't check my row gauge, so it has come out a bit longer. I will at some point shrink it again, because we don't have a dryer in the house. It's difficult because it means I have to go to the laundrette to wash and dry it. But I will try and put it in the dryer for longer this time, and hopefully that will shrink it to a better size, and so that it doesn't look so loose and raggedy. And the only other, yeah, the color wise, I'm not sure what I can do with that. I'll just have to leave it, but it just, the way it looks faded makes it look extremely old when I only made it a few months ago. I would really like to make this pattern again. As I said, the pattern itself is great. The pattern is great. No problems with the pattern at all. Very, very extensive and detailed. Well worth the money that you pay for the pattern. I would say a whole lot of work went into putting that pattern together. So that side of things I'm fine with. So yeah, I would really like to make this again, but I will do it in a wool. I'm not sure if it'll be 100% wool or wool blend, wool nylon blend, but definitely I will steer away from cotton. Cotton isn't really my favorite fiber to work with, simply because of the lack of elasticity. I like the drapiness of cotton, but just not the elastic side of things. Even the cuffs, you can see, kind of. And I've also realized that I don't really like sleeves being so long, because I find a lot of the time I wear it like this. And I do the same thing with some other tops I have where the sleeves are long. So yeah, when I do make it again, I will probably stop the sleeves here. Even this, I've considered ripping the sleeves back, but I don't know whether I will do that or not. I'll have to see. I still haven't fixed the sleeves in the 3-in-1 sweater that I made even longer ago. So yeah. So this is the what's on Valerie. I'll just show the whole thing again properly. So as you can see, as a pattern, it's really, really nice. And you've got the pockets here, which have this detail on it. And this is the problem I have with the length, is that the pockets, it's low so that I can just barely get my hands into the pockets, so they're not really functioning. They're there, I put things in them, but because they're so low down, I can't reach it comfortably, and it just looks weird if I walk down the street with my hands stretched like that. So yeah, these will be made again. but I will keep an eye on my row gauge and I will use different yarn. Right, next I think it is going to be what's up with you. I'll clear up a bit and I will come back for that. Okay, so in terms of the You household, there hasn't been a whole lot happening that I think you would find interesting. For me personally, the most exciting thing I would say is the release of the Fairly Odd Socks collection. That's my collection of socks which are the same but different. I released it, I think it was about a week ago or so now. Yeah, so that's going very well. I'm very happy to have that out there. Where are we? There we go. Yeah, I'm really happy to have that out there. It took longer than I anticipated that it would take, because normally it takes me, I would say, I can knit a pair of socks in about 4 days, I would say on average. Yeah, 4 days would be my average. So I was thinking, give yourself 2 weeks for each sock, but it took a whole lot longer than that to make. And yeah, so it's out now. I'm very happy and excited that it wasn't a week ago. It was about 2 weeks ago I released it. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, so I'm excited to have that out now, and it's available on Ravelry and Craftsy, Love Knitting, and on Etsy to purchase. And you can get the whole collection together as one or get them individually. So I'll just show you a picture of all of them together if I can. Okay, so that's the main page of the collection as on Ravelry. Yeah, I'll just quickly go through each of the socks individually. You've got the over the top, then in and out socks, which are made up of 2 socks, overlappen, which is this one, and bob and weave, which is that one there. I know it's not coming into focus properly. They are ankle socks. Overlappen is more of a lacy sock, and bob and weave is a textured one. Then there is the Brothers Not Twins socks. I mentioned this just a while ago. They're both cabled, but one has a lace stitches as well, and they are James and John. I think what I'll do is a video just going through these in detail, just so I don't take up too much of your time talking about this. Then there is the meandering socks. These are the most recent ones, and they are made up of zig and zag. And this sock, you have the zigzag pattern going through all throughout. On this one, you have the diagonal line going this direction, and then on that direction on there. Yeah, again, the focus isn't great. And with this one, I've done 2 versions, one 2-color version and then a 4-color version. And then finally, we have the Join the Crew socks, which I would say are great for using up scrap yarn, and it has a double cuff feature on there. But as I said, I will do a video where I talk about them in a bit more detail. I do need to wash one of them because I've been wearing it, so yeah, try and get that washed and shown to you in more detail. I think that's all I can think of to say. There's nothing much to show you. I have been trying to do some more recipe and tutorials, especially tutorials. It's been a while since I've done a tutorial video. I did post a scone video up, so check that out on YouTube, and I will try and get some sort of tutorial video up as well. It's difficult because with the food based ones it's fine because I can play music over it, so it doesn't matter if Little Miss is moving around and making noise. But with the tutorial ones, I need her to either be kept busy by someone or to be asleep, and that's the only time I can record those, because obviously I need the sound to be able to talk. So yeah, whenever I will just set myself up at some point, so that whenever she either falls asleep or I get an opportunity to do something, then I will just get that out to you. So yeah, that's all there is. The show notes, if I haven't mentioned already, will be available on the Ravelry group, and I should have put up details of the Ravelry group at the beginning. So do check those out. Head over to the group and join in with the chatter. Follow me on Instagram if you're not already, and Facebook, though I'm not as active on Facebook as I am on Instagram. That's it now. Hope you've enjoyed the episode. If this was your first time viewing, do come back next time, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye.